culture is actually damn good.
We're not urinating on the fire.
You can stop asking that question. I'm going to be calling the defense.
What I talked to Russell about is none of your business.
In this year's owners' meetings, not much has changed in the NFL landscape, but there were a few big decisions made. In an attempt to massage the egos of the refs union, the motion to make roughing the passer reviewable was rejected. It doesn't matter. We all knew it was going to be like reviewing pass interference a few years ago, where only a play or two was overturned and blatant PI wasn't because reasons. You will, however, see more potential ref ball and players with the number 0 on the field. There will also be no gradual cuts down to the final roster in the preseason from 90 players, which should keep starters fresh for a probable wave of injuries in week 2 of the season. Speaking of changes that no one wants, there's a chance that Thursday Night Football will have flex scheduling. It's more than likely going to be up for vote in May, and would give teams at least 15 days notice of a change from Sunday to Thursday. This would be terrible for the game, but remember, the dollar is what drives the NFL. TV rights fees are far more important to the league than the fans, and we all know it. It'll probably be reality barring a miracle. On to the NFC's moves. Despite the skill throughout the roster, last year showed us that San Fran's still a piece or two away from finally ascending to the top of the mountain. It might help if they had a QB that didn't suffer serious injury, but there are other issues to fill. Interior defensive line is a big need this offseason. And when you need a piece that huge, you go for the best. Who's the best on the market this year? Javon Hargrave. Open the vaults, a quality asset is available for the taking. Even if they lost significant pieces in free agency, their high-end talent is still impressive enough to maintain contending status. But what about under center? Brock Purdy just had surgery, and Trey Lance is coming off major surgery. They need a veteran option to replace Jimmy G as an insurance policy. Sam Darnold, this may be the chance to revive your reputation, or just get a nice paycheck to hold a clipboard. For a team that's made a shitload of draft mistakes under Shanahan and Lynch, they've gotten insanely lucky in a lot of aspects. Mainly in Brock Purdy, who didn't need Tommy John and will be the starter, as long as his elbow holds up. After him is Sam Darnold on a redemption arc. What do you say? Who the hell is Trey Lance? No such person exists on the 49ers, you know this. He was merely a figment of all our imaginations. They certainly didn't trade 3 firsts for the privilege to trade him for pennies on the dollar to Dallas. If he wasn't in the plans, then why were you blowing smoke up our asses about how well he was doing in camp? This kind of terrible outcome gets entire regimes fired. Worst part is that Lance didn't get much of a chance here. He was injured before he could. Another one bites the dust. I'd say that's the worst situation for San Fran, but there's a Nick Bosa holdout that's of much more pressing importance. Things aren't looking good on that front. If he isn't around, the defense suffers. Period. Here's the kicker. They don't have a consistent one. Robbie Gould is still a free agent, just saying. This is the weakest NFC as a whole I've seen in a long time. We've gone from Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, and more to Jalen Hurts and maybe some other things. This is going to lead to some wonky results, I know it. First off, I believe there's a repeat winner in the NFC East. Philly takes it thanks to their offense. Sorry, Dallas. The NFC North, I'm going to kill myself in the future for it, but I'm picking Detroit. I think the Lions do it this year. Think that's crazy? I have Atlanta winning the NFC South. The only other serious contender here is New Orleans, and I don't trust them to stay healthy. NFC West, all things considered, is Seattle's to lose. This could change if Bosa plays and Purdy stays healthy, so I have them in a wildcard spot. The other 2 slots go to Dallas and Minnesota. As I said though, the final spots are anyone's guess, and that's the majesty of the game itself. Enough talk. Let's get to the football. The Nick Bosa holdout loomed large, and the Niners know he's a key component to their defense. It's obvious to anyone watching that they had no choice. Unleash the waves of money at Bosa's doorstep. 5 years and $122 million guaranteed, earning the reward of highest paid edge rusher for about 4 months. It had to be done, but I'd try to avoid looking at their 2024 cap situation. Just keep it buried with all the skeletons from past regimes, please. There's a match in Pittsburgh to prove your mettle in. There's some hope in Steelers land. Undefeated preseason with the offense looking competent, and then... Yes, this is totally what we were expecting here. Did we really say hope? San Fran straight up pants them in every facet of play. Dead serious, everything. Say, Pat Pete, how many interceptions did you end up with? Brock Purdy was so easy to read that he diced up that ballyhooed zone D all game long. The only players who showed up for the black and gold were Presley Harvin and TJ Watt. Kenny Pickett was dog shit, Matt Canada's offense was puke, the defense sold more than local real estate, and Mike Tomlin uttered something about the standard or some shit. Pittsburgh hasn't been this destroyed since the steel mill shut down. The Niners. Setback? More like complete domination. The battle for California has two constants. Niners dominate the Rams in most matchups. Niners fans take to the road and dominate SoFi Stadium. If there's any solace, the Rams look a lot better than we first expected them to be. Matthew Stafford looks like he's turned the clock back 5 years. Puka Nacua is a revelation in the receiving corps. The defense did their best to hold. At least they did their best. It's impossible to keep San Fran's offense contained for long. There are too many weapons and too many scenarios where they can kill you 10 times before you blink. To beat a team like this requires perfection. Unfortunately, there are many teams that can't achieve it. How do you stop Christian McCaffrey when he's in form? How about Deebo Samuel? What about Purdy? This game says less about the Rams and more about the Niners. All you can do is begrudgingly tip your hat for a game well played. Besides, LA did better than most. Remember what the Niners did last week? This one was pretty predictable from the start, wasn't it? I know it had to be played for the Amazon contract, but did we really gain anything? The Niners were flat out the better team. I'll give New York credit. They tried. Oh Lord, they tried. Their defense was trying to hold on to that collapsing dam for as long as possible. But with no Andrew Thomas or Saquon on offense, no chance. Without true power to keep up, San Fran just rolled over them like Daniel Jones in the pocket. Even if the refs had a West Coast bias in this one, it didn't matter in the end. I just don't get why Trent Williams would punch a player with the helmet on. Should be ejected for that simply for sheer idiocy. Kyle and John, good work. Here's another extension to keep you warm for the next few years. Arizona, you play hard, I'll give you that. I can't shit on a team that's greatly overachieving for what they're supposed to be, despite lacking talent. However, that ends today. You're playing San Francisco. It's going to be a painful match against a juggernaut. It wasn't even anything you did or didn't do. You're just going up against the Niners. They pull these kind of tricks on everyone. I know you can't stop Christian McCaffrey, but no one really can this year. Sadly, you don't get brownie points for simply trying. Only another L on the stat sheet as the Niners continue their world tour of pure firepower. The Niners are 4-0 and show no signs of stopping anytime soon. Cards look on the bright side. At least you only have to play them one more time this year. This game showed us that there are two tiers of franchise in the NFC. Despite the claims of certain delusional men that shall go unmentioned, the Cowboys got a very rude awakening in Santa Clara. It happens most times they play them, but let me spell it out for you again. Dallas is a good team. San Francisco is a juggernaut. Everything that the Cowboys can do, the Niners went up the mat and then some. They literally could not be stopped. Kyle Shanahan is currently buying up every piece of land available for the taking in Frisco. The Niners straight up own the Cowboys. Any more domination and they'll be able to make Dallas into a vassal state. Bow before your lord and kiss the ring. You have no chance to make do against this power. They will now gladly take your firstborn as tribute. Cleveland is facing shitloads of adversity once again. Another week passes where Deshaun Watson is unable to play thanks to a shoulder injury. This time around, Houston Roughnecks legend PJ Walker gets the call under center. Browns defense, I know you've done pretty much every single thing for the franchise this year, but they're gonna need another carry job. San Francisco is an offense that can score at will and is heavily favored to take you out back and put you out of your misery. Can you manage? Surprisingly, yes. The Niners can do nothing whatsoever against an otherworldly assault. Worst of all, the injury bug is raining down on them like the weather. Deebo Samuel's out. Trent Williams is out. Keep going. Christian McCaffrey's out too. Without elite weapons to insulate him, Brock Purdy is exposed in the open to be shot on sight. It turns into a grindy, ugly, grungy neck-and-neck affair. The type of game that the Niners aren't built to play, and they're exposed in the dog pound. The Niners are down by 3, but they need a miracle to have a chance. Fortunately, they get one. Thank you, PJ Walker. They waltz in for an easy touchdown to regain the lead. But the Browns are a gritty bunch, and the Niners are fatigued. Slowly chip away at that strong defense and force them to bend, at least until a big sack of PJ forcing a field goal. Ideally, this is where the game would end. Too bad the Shanahan offense doesn't have an off switch. 3 and out. Cleveland gets the ball again, and they'll use a kill streak perk. Niners, it's time for you to experience the glories of ref ball. You thought you were safe? Of course not. All teams must suffer, including you as the Browns get to the red zone. They stop them, but not before the field goal is kicked to retake the lead. Frisco, it's pressure time. You know what to do. Finish with everything you have. Brock Purdy manages to thread the needle to field goal range. Fucking amazing. They can escape the labyrinth. Moody! San Francisco officially hates the Moody Blues. Just putting it out there that Robbie Gould would have made this kick. His leg's probably getting an itch just thinking about this miss. Cleveland escapes by the skin of their damn teeth because San Fran needed humbling. Man, that defense is really good. Imagine if they had a real quarterback to help them out. Be nice to find one out there somewhere. Allow me to set the stage for you. The 49ers, one of the best teams in football coming off a humiliating loss and eager to return to form, are facing the Vikings. The embodiment of agony without their best weapon and Monday Night Kirk at the helm. What did you expect to happen? The exact opposite of what you'd assume. I tip my hat to the scriptwriters for an excellent swerve from the usual fare. It's one thing when San Francisco is sloppy on offense for 1 week against an opponent they should beat, but for 2 weeks in a row? Against Brian Flores' all-out attack? It's time for some serious concern. And we need to ask a hard question. Did someone forget to tell Kirk that it was a Monday night game? Cousins played some of the best ball in his career, taking a strong Niners defense and making them his bitch. The world stood in shock as people remember that Kirk is a good quarterback and all goes to hell. It goes further to hell when you remember that this is Minnesota, and they can never ever be normal. Brian Flores continues to go into cover zero and gets burned on it because once again, the Vikings finishing within one possession is written into law. The tension can be cut with a butter knife, it's that thick. Field goals are traded and the Vikings are only up by 5. You know what that means? Time for Brock Purdy to work his magic. Guess this is the magic he's delivering these days? Okay then. Kirk continues his masterful performance and gets them to field goal range. But do you know what this team is? The Vikings missing a field goal? This is supposed to be surprising? Well, we know how this one's ending. San Fran, congrats on the ugly win.
Purdy steps through, floats in his head, and that's it!
Wait a minute, this wasn't in the script I was given. The players are ad-libbing. It does add a unique flair to a stale classic. Minnesota cannot be normal. And in this state, they shock the world. A season once lost to the abyss is looking more and more salvageable. So how's the pain amplified in this quest? In this critical moment, Washington thought like Belichick on a 4th and 3 at the opposing 40. They punted. Their high-profile edge rushers in Montez Sweat and Chase Young have been sent packing for a pair of day 2 picks. Chase Young, however, gets the reward of being thrust into immediate contention. The rich get richer. San Francisco adds to their incredible defensive glut with another 2nd overall pick. Chase has had injury woes, but with him and Nick Bosa together, if he reaches the level that I think he can, holy shit, that's a D-line that competes with the Eagles. And it only cost them a 3rd. Now, only if that could fix their issues on offense recently. That'd be nice. Still a better situation than Riverboat Ron's in right now. He's just sitting around waiting to be served a pink slip. 1 bad game is a fluke and can be ignored. 2 bad games is a streak and needs to be acknowledged. 3 bad ones in a row is a trend and requires deep concern. The 49ers have a lot to be worried about, and there's no place to directly point the blame. It's everywhere. It may have taken a while, but the Bengals finally played up to their full potential for the first time all year. Joe Burrow looks fully healthy, and that's a joyous occasion for all of Cincinnati. He made the Niners defense look foolish repeatedly. And despite their early struggles, they have reemerged as a threat to the AFC. San Fran, however, has serious dilemmas. Despite going on and clearing concussion protocol, Brock Purdy is in a sophomore slump. He went from rocking his cock out to shriveling back to Mr. Irrelevant with some of these throws. Do you see this? This is shit that will get a man benched in the XFL. You sure he's okay? Since he merely had to stand there and let the offense keep fucking up. San Francisco had chances to get back into the contest, yet since he refused to make mistakes, California sinks into the ocean with a decisive win. There is some positive news, Niners fans. You may have lost your 3rd in a row, but Christian McCaffrey maintained his touchdown streak.
I won!
Hollow, meaningless victories are still victories. Francisco has been under a rough spell for the last month or so. It's with great pleasure for me to announce that they used their bye week to undergo a dungeon quest. They fought through hell and back to find the antidote to their woes. Deebo Samuel returning. Apparently, he is the key to the Niners' offense going from sluggish as hell to an absolute machine. Jacksonville is supposed to be one of the elite of the AFC. With how their offensive line was getting eaten alive all game long. Did they even prepare for this team? It was 60 minutes of pure misery. A nightmare of terror by the 49ers where the torture was prolonged until they lost all will to live. Only then would the Jags get the sweet release of death. An orgy of destruction and mayhem in only a way San Francisco can provide. These are the Niners we expected to see recently. Several days later, Jacksonville's gonna wake up in an alleyway with everything taken and ask themselves, what the fuck happened? San Francisco is on a revenge tour after suffering a few humiliating losses over the past month or so. Who's the first victim of their wrath on the docket? Tampa Bay. Sorry, Bucks, you picked the short straw of the bunch. The Niners are gonna make you try and outgun them in an arms race, and you're a few weapons short of an arsenal. It was going to be a near impossible task to win any way you looked at it. But with a healthy 49er offense, that secondary of yours is not only going to get battered, it will fall apart. Brock Purdy's back to making incisions against blown coverages aplenty all game long. Baker tries, but he can't power through. San Francisco wins easily and retakes a one-game lead on their division. It's good to bounce back to old form. Nothing against you, Tampa, it just happens. You'll have other chances. To any Seahawks fans that were pissed at me earlier, you don't have to question if I watched the game or not. I want my 3 hours back. What I saw merely confirmed my biases against their failure to reach their potential. Anything that could go wrong for them in the first half did and amplified itself tenfold. Offense stuffed. The defense destroyed repeatedly by the 49ers' assault. Muffed punts. Tariq Woolen benched in the second quarter. And a missed field goal for good measure. Doesn't matter what happens from here, too late to do anything against a team out for blood. It was a nightmare up in Seattle. But it's more due to San Francisco. Minus a few slip-ups, they showed us all they will destroy anyone in their path. To be fair, they didn't have to try that hard here. Not when you're going up against the epitome of Seattle's season. Shotgun on 4th and inches. Stop proving me right, Seahawks. San Francisco is gunning for more than revenge for last year's NFC Championship game. They want to send a message. Any foe that dares cross them in the field of battle will suffer a fate worse than death. In a supposed game of the week against the supposed class of the NFC, the Eagles weren't just run over by a monster truck. They were plucked of their mighty feathers, boiled in tar, and left to be consumed by maggots in a swamp. Even in the home confines of the Link, their champions will be routinely bested and slaughtered in front of a horrified crowd. There will be no crowning king here. San Francisco has shown that they are the class of the conference. Fuck the seeding, the NFC runs through them and them alone. They have 50 ways to kill with unbelievable efficiency, and the Niners showed us at least 10 of them in a 30-minute span. The only demerit for them was Dre Greenlaw trying to skirmish the Eagles' head of security, getting them both booted in the process. It's like sacrificing a bishop for a damn pawn. We've only got 5 weeks left in the season from hell itself. That means the playoffs are about to be seen as we crest over the hill. And then the race to the finish will truly begin. The NFC is much more slanted towards the top. Philly still remains the #1 seed despite their loss. But San Francisco and Detroit are gaining on them fast. As the clown in the Army Battalion, Atlanta is 4th in tank division. Dallas should be in a top 4 spot, but they're stuck in a division with the Eagles. The other 2 wildcard spots are a 4-team race. The Vikings and Packers claim positions for now, but the Rams and Seahawks are right on their tail. Right behind them, the Buccaneers and Saints are knocking on the door of tank division. And the Bears and Giants are currently in a combination of long-term planning and extremely slim chances to make noise. This is the playoff situation, and the madness is only going to amplify. There's only one rule, and sadly the Panthers didn't follow it.
Don't get eliminated!
Seattle's on a death spiral, but things are only getting worse for them. Geno Smith's nagging injuries are going to keep him out of this vital contest. The Seahawks must trust Horsecock Locke in a battle against an entire fucking armada. The thing is that Locke managed to hold his own for the most part. He wasn't firing balls wildly into the air this time around, which is tremendous progress for the man. The real problem was that they were playing against San Francisco. Being passable just isn't good enough. And the Niners crush teams like this for breakfast. They did the typical San Francisco things. Huge splash plays on offense, effectively dissecting defensive units, allowing the stars at the skill positions to lay waste to all that oppose them. When you're up against a Seahawks defense that can't tackle worth a damn, it's become routine. The contest slowly got out of hand in due time. And then the real Drew Lock stands up for 2 turnovers as the Seahawks lose their 4th straight. An all but certain wildcard spot has been squandered. See what you've done, Packers? Now New Yorkers are buying into Tommy DeVito as their franchise QB. Memes are truly becoming more than dreams. There is some good news in all this bullshit. In addition to the endless opium spreading around the NFC, San Francisco is the first to secure their ticket to January. Well, this is gonna take a bit to sort out. Scriptwriters are generating so much hope that it could power a small town for years on end. A mediocrity carousel that'll make your head spin. The age of upsets brings us endless mosh pits. The NFC is even worse off. But we have a new number 1 seed in San Francisco because Dallas has usurped the Eagles in the division lead for now. They're in 2nd place. Detroit, despite their struggles as of late, have 3rd seed, which won't be in danger. That's because Tampa Bay is somehow leading Tank Division. The abomination we hoped would die. They'll have the right to host Philly in a wildcard game if things stand. With 2nd wildcard, I don't know how, but the Vikings are in sole possession of it. 1,000,000 explosions and somehow alive. Same as Green Bay in the wildcard spot that should not exist. A 5-way tie exists for the right to get slaughtered. The Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, and Saints are also in the mix for better or worse. And in the background, the Giants and Bears are kicking back laughing at how the hell they're only a game back of a dance ticket. Welcome to the mess, kids. We've got 4 games left. Only 1 spot's been clinched and 2 teams are out. Buckle up. Keep your hands inside at all times. And one more thing. Don't get eliminated! This one isn't much of a shocker. Arizona has mostly been Arizona and will fall victim to teams that have their shit together. Guess who they played this week? Only the juggernaut of the conference. This was allegedly a Cardinals home game. All I'm seeing are Niners fans, and for good reason. The contest wasn't much of one. San Francisco did the usual San Francisco things. Do I really have to go over them all? It's a broken record. Purdy was efficient as hell. Christian McCaffrey had yet another premium day making Carolina continue to eat shit, and the Cardinals offense did little but shoot blanks. Remember when we thought the Niners were in some kind of trouble? That feels like ancient history at this point. Our concerns overturned with a 6-game win streak and a guaranteed home playoff game by winning the NFC West. The number 1 seed is in sight now. Another tick of the clock has passed. And while several teams have secured tickets to the dance, there is so much more at stake in this final stretch. The NFC is San Francisco's to lose. They stand alone for the number 1 seed right now, with Dallas, Detroit, and Philly having outside chances at it. In spite of a 3-game skid, Philly still controls their own destiny. If they and Dallas both win out, they will control the NFC East due to strength of schedule. The Cowboys are just hoping their rival keeps failing. The big scenario is Tank Division. Tampa Bay has the potential to run away with a spot due to a 3-game win streak. New Orleans is hot on their tail, but currently lose tiebreaker. Atlanta just keeps choking, so they're on the outside. Like in the AFC, there's a 4-way tie for 2 wildcard spots. Minnesota's in troubled waters, but still has the 6th seed. The LA Rams, after a Packers loss, now control the final spot. The Seahawks and Saints are also in the mix and are eager to steal a spot for their own. Behind them, Green Bay and Atlanta need a good bit of help now after their last 2 defeats. I wish you all good tidings and safe travels in this final week of 2023. Christmas season is hectic, but these holidays get more special with age. Enjoy your time with friends and family, cherish what you have in life, and do me one favor, please. Don't get eliminated! If Ali versus Frazier were personified in a matchup, this is it. The heavyweight bout for an age. Or if you're Rashard Mendenhall, the closest thing to his ideal Pro Bowl. This was supposed to be a championship preview. Brock Purdy is a shoo-in for MVP? Is this your king? Against the Ravens, the 49ers walked into the ring proud and tall. They leave humiliated and bloodied as they fall for every single trap laid out. The Purdy haters have waited in the shadows for this moment, and tonight they celebrate their miracle. Brock looked completely exposed in the elements of California, being picked apart and then picked off again and again. 4 interceptions into the infant stages of the third quarter. Baltimore made him look XFL tier. The injury that took him out was a showing of mercy. We all hailed San Francisco as the de facto Super Bowl favorite. They've been knocked off their perch, and in its stead is a Raven. Their defense laid that powerful foe to waste. And Lamar and his weapons did the rest. One of the greatest statements Baltimore's made in a long time. And this is their ultimate chance. They take out Miami next week. The only thing that can stop them are themselves. 2 more weeks to go, yet we have solved next to nothing. A few more pieces have moved into position, but very little set in stone. 2 teams clinched, 2 more eliminated, yet there are still 10 more teams that need to be cut off from the pack. The NFC number 1 seed has a new wrinkle with San Francisco's loss. Philadelphia has a renewed chance to stake a claim for that title in spite of themselves. Detroit has it in their sights as well, but the Niners still control their own destiny in that regard. The NFC East is a simple proposition. An Eagles win or Cowboys loss in the next 2 weeks means Philly secures a home playoff game. And they play the Cardinals and Giants. Barring a hilarious collapse, it's theirs. Tank division at Tampa Bay further secure a home matchup against most likely Dallas. Atlanta and New Orleans are a game back, but their best shot of doing anything is in the wildcard barring an implosion. The wildcard spots, excluding Dallas, are now solely controlled by the Rams and Seahawks, with LA controlling tiebreaker. 1 game back are Minnesota, Atlanta, Green Bay, and New Orleans in mixed states of being. And then the Bears. Somehow not dead yet. We have 2 weeks left, and the purge will shortly commence. Make your preparations now. For there will only be one phrase chanted throughout the land. Don't get eliminated! So Washington's in a bit of a pickle. Jacoby Brissett was supposed to get the nod for the commies today, but his hamstring decided to act out in protest. This means he's unable to go. Sam Howell is back to further destroy whatever confidence of a long-term future he has in Washington. Did I mention they're playing San Francisco? May I give you some advice? Lie down and don't bother getting up. Let the Niners do their thing. Don't let them see you move and file an insurance claim for the loss. You may want to fight, but it will mean certain death. All you have to do is leave the number 1 seed in the NFC is offering, and they'll leave you alone. If you want to leave Sam Howell for them as a snack, I'll accept that as well. Time for a new franchise quarterback who you hopefully won't ruin. And probably a whole new management team, too. Things got much clearer and much more confusing at the same time. I don't know how that's possible, but we must accept this chaotic landscape known as reality. There were some clinchings, however, many scenarios must be cleared up. Philly did not perform, and as a result of their choke and other unnamed factors, Dallas now controls the NFC East. If they beat up on some commies once again, they will host home playoff games. If not, the door opens back up for the Eagles. But no guarantees. Tank division is a hellscape. All 3 of Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Atlanta have a chance to claim its melted crown. The Buccaneers control their own destiny against an awful Carolina team, but if they somehow fail, the Saints or Falcons will drunkenly stumble into a home game as they play each other. There's only 1 wildcard spot left to claim, and it's the 7th seed that should not exist. Green Bay now controls their own destiny after Seattle lost, but they have to win against the Bears. If they fail, the door opens for rivals. The Seahawks will get first crack. If they also lose, New Orleans can take it. If they all fail, Minnesota gets the chance to defy fate itself. It's crunch time, boys. The final week is upon us. You've made it this far, but the cold reality is there are only so many spots available. Good luck, and may the gods smile upon you. Don't get eliminated! Look at the madness that has been unleashed in this, the year of our Lord 2024. Sam Darnold starting a game for San Francisco. A ton of players are resting for the Niners, but that's not the biggest surprise. Matthew Stafford's being given the week off, which means that he's back. Carson Wentz returning under center after being left for dead on the side of the road. You wasted a revival potion on him? Not like Puka Nacua, who now holds the rookie reception and receiving yardage records. But records don't help much when San Francisco jumps out to a 20-6 lead at halftime. I hope you like twists. The most shocking thing of all is that Wentz didn't completely shit the bed in a pivotal Week 17 or Week 18 matchup yet again. Perhaps all can be healed in time. Or maybe he was just playing versus backups on a team with little to fight for. He'll overcome the deficit with plenty of heroics and get them not only 2 touchdowns in the second half, but a 2-point conversion to take the lead by 1. It would stay at that mark. Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold, and the mid-tier Rams finally beat San Francisco in a regular season game. The grudge match for Matthew Stafford against Detroit is intact. May the narratives and conflict be juicy and delicious all week long. It has been settled. A little more anticlimactic than usual, but sometimes conclusions are very underwhelming. Just ask Game of Thrones. The playoff matchups are now set in stone. In the AFC, Baltimore gets a first-round bye to go up against the trainees from Police Academy. Buffalo somehow secures the second seed and a probable first-round bye since they're playing Pittsburgh at home. I'll laugh hysterically if they blow it. Kansas City managed to at least catch a third seed against Miami, where Tyreek Hill is returning to where he honed his craft for years. Houston, in the shocker of the year, wins fourth seed. They'll be taking on Cleveland in the Deshaun Watson Bowl. Fortunately, without Deshaun Watson. The NFC is just as trashy if we're being honest. San Francisco gets first-round bye. Leading off the bad news bears, Dallas secures the second seed and a matchup against Green Bay. No bad experiences in previous playoff matches there, I'm sure. Detroit gets third seed in the ultimate revenge match. Matthew Stafford coming home to lead the Rams against them. The winner of Tank Division, in spite of themselves, is Tampa Bay. And they'll have a legitimate chance of winning since the only thing Philadelphia can beat is themselves at this point. Prepare yourselves accordingly. This year's been a shit show and I anticipate much more of the same in the playoffs. Take care, and I'll see you for the haters, guys. This season was an acid trip. Instability and wonkiness in nearly every game imaginable. The year of the backup quarterback. In some cases, the third stringer. Or further than that. The Shield wants to squeeze every dollar it can out of the game, and it's showing in the quality of play. Every team sucks, everyone's a fraud, the league's product is shit, and there are only about 2 or 3 teams that might be competent. Endless trash abound. Let's put the victims on stage and roast them over a fire. This is it. Everything is lined up for this moment in time. Some of the best skill players and defenders in the game. A franchise that's the strongest it's ever been and can kill a team 20 times before they can even blink. There were people ready to crown them champions back in October, for crying out loud. Then the injuries started making people worry for a bit, but now everything's good to go, mostly. Their defense has been a bit banged up, especially in the secondary, but with all that talent, they look invincible. On paper. Do you know how you beat this team? Hold a lead. Dead serious, this is the organization's fucking kryptonite. They don't like the backdoor shenanigans as they can't come from behind. That or if Trent Williams goes down with injury. If he's out, the offense suddenly regresses to high school form. Suspicions and past reputations aside, the expectations are sky high for this group. Will they finally get it done? As long as Brock Purdy's elbow isn't ravaged by his haters or a screaming pass rusher again, they should. Keyword is should. When you reach that final gauntlet, you have to find that extra gear. Despite how it may look on the surface, considering this year has been full of unpredictability on any given Sunday, I'm expecting some rather unusual results. I look forward to the memes. And yes, I know none of you are looking forward to this next segment. So who do I curse with the jinx this time around? Should be easy, but I'm starting to overthink this because why go after the obvious picks? It feels like it's bait. I don't know why, but it's gonna lure me into a trap. Knowing how every team has glaring flaws, I'm just gonna say Cowboys versus Chiefs. Why? Because nothing makes any goddamn sense. Just roll with it. I'm trying to as well, boys. 2 words best describe these playoffs. Fuck you. Fuck your feel-good stories. Fuck your narratives. And especially fuck likability. That shit doesn't get you to the promised land. Wins do. It's been a playoffs full of blowouts and humiliation, but it marches on all the same. Nearly everyone's pissed at the outcome. You know what to do. Start mining salt. Is the NFL really all that different from the NBA? I could have just said you're fucked to a bunch of franchises and no one would tell the difference. Life does not care for feel-good stories or underdogs. It wants winners. And the team representing the AFC definitely does enough of that. Honestly, I doubt they get back here. The title defense was looking quite perilous at stretches this year. The fault lied at the bread and butter of their success. The offense. The receivers couldn't catch. Everything undone by Kadarius Toney dropping everything, or MVS dropping everything, or someone else dropping everything. Did you see that stinker they had against the Raiders on Christmas? The offense imploded on itself. The Chiefs were being carried by defense in the strangest twist. Things looked mighty perilous, mostly because of said suspect receivers. your only truly reliable ones are Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, it would be a climb. Especially with the gauntlet they had to face in the playoffs. So much for that gauntlet. Miami? Well, they were already dead the moment they stepped on the field. Buffalo? You think they're allowed to beat the Chiefs twice in one season? There's no Tony to save them this time. And Baltimore. This is your elite AFC team. Can you stop joking, please? Their sluggish regular season was merely masking their true form. What you get now is Kansas City at their best. Nothing can stop Patrick Mahomes at his peak. Systematically dicing his opponents with an elusiveness rivaling the Zodiac Killer and efficiency equaling him. Death-defying throws, frustrating defensive coordinators everywhere. The dream quarterback. And one that every franchise has been trying to replicate ever since. His chemistry with Travis Kelce is second to none. Backyard football with a regimented, cold-blooded flair. When they're clicking, no scheme nor personnel can hold them back. If that isn't enough, you get Isaiah Pacheco breathing down your neck. Okay, breathing isn't the right term to use. More angrily running you over until you're dust. On the receiver front besides Kelce, it's a committee. Rashee Rice is the most reliable one of the bunch. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling has come up clutch in big moments the last 2 games. There's also Justin Watson, Noah Gray, and Sky Moore to be looked at as depth. Also, perhaps he who shall not be mentioned. Whether he is really injured or not. Good lord. Behind what is still one of the strongest defensive lines in all of football, they still have the upside of a champion. But the real surprise has been in their defense. Steve Spagnuolo's unit has been the heartbeat of Kansas City, and their front four has been a catalyst. It suffered a serious blow with Charles Omenihu being out with a torn ACL. But when you still have Chris Jones wrecking shit, you don't need much else. Flanked by George Karlaftis, Michael Donna, and Derek Nottie, they will be a force for the real threat. Their pass defense. One of the best in football. And a nightmare for opposition everywhere. Their linebacking core a balanced machine of Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, and Drew Tranquil. Their secondary? Welcome to L'Jarius Sneed's Feed and Seed. A shutdown corner of shutdown corners. Only 1 touchdown surrendered all season. And Trent McDuffie doesn't get much easier to pass against. At safety, Justin Reed and Mike Edwards are back from last year, along with a chorus of depth pieces that will turn the tide. Do you remember when people felt Kansas City was an underdog? The likable bunch breathing fresh air into the NFL? Public perception can change on a dime. 4 years after their first ascension to the big dance in 50 years, only one word is at the tip of their tongue. Dynasty. 4 Super Bowl appearances in 5 seasons with potentially 3 titles to show for it? You're reaching that territory now. The chance to be spoken about as the team of the decade. Just like the Patriots that had lorded over the AFC before. All you're hearing now are the grumblings of fans having to watch Taylor Swift for 5 seconds at a time in a suite. The NFL is salivating at the money they'll print. The Chiefs have emerged as the new villain of the league. And they should embrace that mantra. Remember the decades of failure and futility before this moment? Take every victory you can. You've more than earned it. And you never know how long it's going to last. But before they even consider that option, they'll have to get through a foe they've once bested. It's been a long road for the Niners. Since their gut-punching loss to these Chiefs in 2020, they've suffered setback after setback. COVID year had them devastated by injury to the entire organization, including their home stadium. 2021 had them go on a magical run, but were devastated by their inferior brethren down in LA. 2022 was their best shot despite the endless injuries. It was undone by both quarterbacks suffering injuries against the Eagles. Every chance undone thanks to elements mostly out of their control. But even then, expectations were sky high for San Francisco this year. It was their all-in push. Every weapon at their disposal, the best of the best at nearly every position. Their regular season was domination on a grand scale. For the most part. Injuries to Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams led them on a 3-game losing streak. But they got back to dominating. For the most part. Even for their incredible talents, they've been dancing through an insane amount of raindrops this postseason. They had to come back to barely beat Green Bay, a team they should have thoroughly crushed on paper. And then Detroit. It got ugly at first. Very ugly. Then fortunately they turned on the Jets, the Lions self-destructed, and the rest is history. It also means one thing. Kyle Shanahan was able to win from behind. That's been a sticking point of his. With a field general like Brock Purdy, it comes from unexpected sources. The future wasn't supposed to be him. Trey Lance was being groomed for the role. But in comes Mr. Irrelevant himself and takes control of their many weapons to Bledsoe him to oblivion. His role in the offense is nothing crazy. Keep it simple, minimize mistakes, take advantage of what defenses give him, and allow the skill players to shine. Those skill players. Oh my. When you start with Christian McCaffrey, things are good. The question when trading for him last year was, would he stay healthy? I'd say that answer's been a resounding yes. The solution was being free from Carolina. Behind him, Elijah Mitchell and the last great fullback in Kyle Juszczyk spell him off. God bless Kyle Juszczyk. That is all. Deebo Samuel should also be blessed. His rise in 2019 has remained unabated, as he's one of the major catalysts of this offense in so many ways. He's not the only receiving option either. Brendan Ayuk was looked at as a great option that needed his breakout, and he's more than certainly got it. There's also a little-known tight end named George Kittle who destroys worlds like Kelsey does. He's pretty good in his own right, if I say so myself. We must discuss Trent Williams on the offensive line, though. He's the real key to this offense. When he's injured, the offense vanishes to nothing. That's not slighting the rest of their O-line, but it goes to show what Williams means to them. Their defense, meanwhile, has had some injuries, particularly to Talanoa Hufanga, but it's still a devastating unit. That defensive line, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Chase Young, even Javon Kinlaw and Cleveland Farrell are quality depth pieces for a line ready to crush all foes. But wait till you get to their inside linebacker core. Fred Warner is one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league by a country mile. A well-rounded monster hearkening to the days of Brooks and Urlacher. If you somehow get past him, Dre Greenlaw's just gonna deck you. See for yourself. If there's one thing their secondary's great at, it's forcing turnovers. Remember Javarius Ward, Kansas City? He's the 49ers' main corner. After him, you've got Dylan Noor, Isaiah Oliver, Jair Brown, and Tashawn Gibson manning the fort. It's a truly mixed arsenal of hell for opponents. As you can see from the Niners, these chances aren't to be taken lightly. They figured after blowing it 4 years ago, a return to the Super Bowl was forthcoming. It hasn't been that easy. Things have most certainly gotten in the way. And they know that with the hounds of competition at their door, another shot isn't guaranteed. The last time these two teams met, it ended Andy Reid's long-standing title drought as a head coach. Perhaps it's Kyle Shanahan's turn. The ghosts of 28-3 have still not been slain. With the weapons at his disposal, this is his best chance to overcome that horrific demon. We now get the Super Bowl that roughly 90% of the football world hates. But it's a hate that both fan bases embrace. They are the ones at the top. They will flex on those that see. And all we'll see are Swifties that infest the gridiron. It's the championship matchup we deserve for our arrogance. When will we learn not to gatekeep this beautiful game? The thing with my jinxes is that they seem to curse only one team for the most part. Dallas suffered the most hilarious defeat in recent playoff history, while the Chiefs made it all the way to the dance. Honestly, trying to use logic and predicting things blows up in my face, so best to just go on vibes. On paper, San Francisco should win this game, but in reality, it's going to be the Chiefs that win. The reason why is simple. Because fuck you. It's perfect for this gut punch of a season. Then Taylor Swift reveals herself to be a hive demon and needs Travis Kelce to father their young. That oddly sounds about right. What do you do with the team that can't win the big one? What do you do with the man that can't escape his own demons? What do you do with San Francisco? They were the chosen ones, crowned as the contender of the NFC for what seems to be time eternal, only to fumble it away at every opportunity, either coming up just short of the goal or being decapitated by a wave of injuries. Simplest explanation, the Niners are perennially cursed. All you need is one example. Dre Greenlaw, one of their core defensive players, suffers a major injury early on. And it's not during a play, but by going onto the field after a punt. Shades of Bill Gramatica injuring himself after a kick. That is San Francisco. Undone by elements out of their control or an ill-timed faux pas. They can have no joy. They can't even hold the record for longest field goal in Super Bowl history without Kansas City one-upping them. Whatever they try to do, Kansas City is simply better. And this was supposed to be the year to beat them. They looked weak throughout the season. Their underbelly was exposed. Their offense was a complete mess, being bailed out by defense and their opponents imploding on themselves. Yet San Francisco couldn't do it. Travis Kelce was yelling at Andy Reid in the sidelines and they still couldn't do it. They're Buffalo with better PR. Consistently botching key opportunities thanks to an inability to overcome the Chiefs' defense. Most agonizingly, the few mistakes they made were brutal in scope, undone by a blocked extra point and a muffed punt. Their special teams doomed them. Thanks to those two plays, everything will be overthought and analyzed to hell and back due to the football equivalent of Deus Ex Machina. Can't even call Kyle Shanahan a choker. He didn't even do that much wrong. His only true demerits on the game were failing to run the ball in the third quarter and gunning for a third possession in overtime. Hate to say, Kyle, but Kansas City was going to go for two instead of obliging him. Going to win, blowing another double-digit lead in the Super Bowl, but all it shows me is one thing. He still cannot break the hex of 28-3. No matter what he does or how he schemes, that dark cloud will never dissipate. It is his albatross. It has become San Francisco's bane, despair, perpetual agony. As Kansas City rips the wind from their cold, dead hands, the football world is a chasm. The dynasty of the Chiefs has been born. The new boss is the same as the old boss, but now with allegations of rigging and scripting because the bad guys won in predictable fashion. We are now under new management. San Francisco has failed to break through once again. While they should have one more year to push until the Purdy bill comes due, everyone's somehow going to get injured again and they'll fall well short of the goal. That's just how things work for them. Bang, bang, Niner gang. The bang is them falling to their death. Reaching the pearly gates, there will only be the worst-case scenario for football fans. 2 rings for Kadarius Toney.
San Francisco is gone now.
That was for the good of all Americans.